Regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Pledge of Allegiance, please. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Garcia,
Here.
Commissioner Krushat,
Here.
Commissioner Pahana,
Here.
Vice Chair Cure,
Here.
and Chair Walker,
Here.
all present.
Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going to the city's website and clicking on the meeting agenda link. Public comment. This is time for the public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission that are not on the printed agenda. All comments are to be directed to the chair of the commission and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional and courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out a name and address slip and give it to the Planning Commission Secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by Brown Act, state law, from taking action or discussing at length items not on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of that agenda item. I'm going to open public comment. Douglas Walters.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for opening up the opportunity for the public to come in and speak. We're grateful for the opportunity to speak to you. The question that we have and what we'd like to address is during the last 3-4 weeks, we've had some major catastrophes happen throughout the city. And it is an opportunity for us to both learn and do something about that. What we've learned is when we had these monsoonals, they don't fit anybody's models of any type of weather. The one thing that we have learned also was that the water flows that have been interrupted because of development has caused major damage to properties surrounding those locations. And what I would like to address specifically is the area over by the cemetery. Since the cemetery has established a berm in the back of their property, which is to the west, and installed a V channel to the south, that water has been diverted from its natural water flows, and it flows down into a collection area just south of their property where they have their heavy machinery, and it pulls and then it floods down at a 45-degree angle from that position down onto Encilia, and everything at a 45-degree angle beyond that is hit with all that water and debris. And since that time, we've been having almost a yearly conversation coming into the city and asking, or into City Hall and asking them, you know, what is being taken place, what is happening to keep this from happening. To the best of my understanding, the County of San Bernardino has it in their policies regarding water runoff that it is illegal for you to divert water from your property onto other people's properties. And they're diverting it into the city's streets. Now, unfortunately, there's so much water coming onto your streets that it does not stay within the bounds of those. It jumps the berms, going into people's homes, coming into their properties, damaging landscaping that they have been put into place. And so the question I have for the Planning Commission is, what is the goal that you guys have to keep this type of damage from happening? Once it's on the street, it should remain on the street. There should be a crown in the middle of the street which allows it to flow down the course of the street and into the flood areas at the end of that, especially if you go down to Summercan and Encilia, there's a drainage of natural flow that happens through that area. And you have installed huge berms on the side which is on the north side of Summercan, to keep the water flowing through down Summercan down to the flood area out there by Morongo Road. The question is what are you doing to keep that from jumping the berms on every other side of the streets, because it is jumping from the streets and that area and jumping into properties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just speak a little bit?
Yes, yes.
His wife. One thing that my husband didn't mention is that the city has given permission to. Could you use the microphone? The city has given permission to the. My name is Edith Walters, and I'm Douglas Walters' wife. I live on Daisy, and one thing that he didn't mention is that the city has allowed some neighbors in behind my home to extend their fence exactly 18 inches away from my fence. In that process, the neighbors also have put gates in their fences. Because according to the city, and this is what we have been told over and over and over, that everybody can do that because the easement or the alleyway, whatever you call it, is part of your property and you are able to do that. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. My problem is that when those gates are built, those gates retain the water that is coming when we have big storms like that, like one we have 3 months ago. This is not the first time that we have come here. Last year, we also have the same problem. Well, not the same. This year was even worse. Because we have tons, the water from the neighborhood, because it got diverted, couldn't go through those gates or those fences that the people had built it. They came from 3 different directions in my home. We built a retaining wall, and that retaining wall was blasted. Nothing. What it is very discouraging to me is that I have 4 friends who came to my house to help me to repair the disaster in my yard. Not talking about the disaster inside my home. My home is upside down. Everything. The floors, the walls. But what was very discouraging is that 4 of my friends who are construction workers told me that no matter what I will do around my house, I always going to have the problem until that water is diverted away from my home. So I am pleading to you, do something so that water is stop coming from me, because somebody has to pay for all that. My insurance only paid $253. I pay $1,000 for a truck to come over and take that sand away and rebuild or refill the holes that it was made. Somebody has to pay. The question is who? Because it's gonna be the neighbors who are building this stuff, or it's going to be the city who allows them to build that stuff and didn't see or didn't oversee the consequences that this stuff that they did it brought to us. So
Thank you,
please
ma'am.
do something.
Yes, ma'am. And then I have one more public comment, a letter for the public comment to read in. This is from Astrid Johnson. I regret that I am unable to attend in person. This public comment letter is to present my request to consider developing a plan to shelter individuals and families with pets during a weather emergency. The Senior Citizen Center will not allow pets to stay in the shelter. I am proposing we offer an alternate shelter that allows for pets. Thank you for this considering this request. It has been a topic of discussion in our community and at the EVRSC meeting held last month. Astrid Johnson. Any more public comments?
So after this meeting, if time permits, if you have a few minutes, the city manager and I will speak to you about your situation.
Okay, I'm going to close public comment. Moving on to commissioner comments and reports of meeting attended. We'll start with Alex.
I haven't attended any meetings.
Jim?
I did have the opportunity to go to Sky's the Limit last Thursday, invitation from Ann Condon. Interesting lecture. It went from 8:30 to 10:30, but I couldn't stay the whole thing, but it was still enjoyable. And I really think that if you haven't gone out to see Sky's the Limit, and you have an interest in astronomy and how great our night skies are, that's a good place to do it. Thank you.
Leslie?
Hi, everyone. I have not attended any meetings since our last.
Jessica?
I also attended the Sky's the Limit, and I have never been to the observatory, but I learned they also have a meditation garden there and a nature trail, so it's kind of a nice place if you want to have a little quiet spot to go as well, so good to know. Second was, I believe it was called the Resilience. I can't remember the name of the event itself, but it was at the senior center for all the flood. What? No, was that what it's called? I don't think so. At the senior center, just seeing all the different available resources for the flooding. Yeah, I attend both of those. That's it.
So I went to the summer youth theater program play that they put on. I was there all 4 nights. My daughter was in the play. She had a really good time. She enjoyed it. And I highly recommend even the regular plays they do throughout the year. If you're able to, go check them out. They do a pretty good job and put on a good performance. And I also went to the Sky's Limit Observatory for the first time. I really enjoyed it. I brought my daughter. She didn't enjoy so much of the late hour, but it was a good lecture, and I learned some stuff, so it was enjoyable. Moving on to the consent calendar, we have one item on the consent calendar. Has everybody had time to review the consent calendar?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes as presented for July 16th, 2024.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Krushat,
Aye.
Commissioner Pahana,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cure,
Aye.
and Chair Walker.
Aye.
5-0 approved.
We have no items removed from the consent calendar. Moving on to public hearings. We have a CUP for the Family Dollar to add type 20 alcohol license to their store.
All right, so okay, so this CP 23 number 10, lots of zeros in between, is located at 6355 Adobe Road. It is a zone for downtown general. It is requesting a type 20 off-sale beer and wine license for one display of approximately 70 square feet out of the structure, which is 8,000 square feet. This is the floor plan attached. It will be in one cooler, towards the back of the plan. The Family Dollar's right across the street, so hopefully the Planning Commission is familiar with it. We are recommending that the staff's recommendation is that we find the project exempt from CEQA, adopt the resolution, and approve the conditional use permit. We have the applicant here, who arrived just in time, and we have additional backup information if the commission requests it. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Sir, do you wish to speak?
If any questions, just Jonathan Crumley on behalf of Family Dollar. Happy to answer any questions you have about policies, procedures, or the way they approach alcohol sales.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions up here from the commission? Alex, any questions, comments? No. Jessica,
No.
Leslie?
No.
All right, I'm going to open public comment. Eric, please come forward.
Hello, Eric Menendez. So I just kind of would like to speak against it, just because we're at 3 in the census tract, and I don't see how it's we have, 4 or 5 of these dollar stores in town, and already we kind of opened up the one up here, which is putting an impact on the liquor store, the independently run liquor store behind it at the Adobe Historic Plaza. And my concern is, if we're already at the limit, so what's to say that we might have another business or restaurant or someone else open up that would potentially need to go over what's allowed in the census tract and then already we'd be at 4 then, and then, you know, that's kind of limits us what we can do in the future. So, and as far as public convenience, I just think that you have 7-Eleven right there. We have a big homeless population that kind of congregates right behind these stores. So I just don't see how we need another place to sell beer and liquor. That's pretty much what I have to say about that. Thank you.
Do we have anybody wants to do public comment? Okay, I'm gonna close public comment.
I have a question. So, if we do allow this, given that it's going to be like an approval of over the census, and there was another entity that wanted to come and sell, could they propose another like exception?
Yes, so the way this public convenience and necessity works is the ABC allows X amount of alcohol outlets per census tract, whether they're on sale or off sale. In other words, it's a restaurant. Those are kind of differently than it's a convenience store, liquor store, that kind of thing, grocery store. And the idea here is if we have those that go above that number, whatever the number is, then they can ask for a public convenience and necessity. There's nothing stopping any future applicant to come in that census tract to ask for another public convenience and necessity. It's up to the commission to determine if it's
Allowable at that time.
If it's allowable.
Okay, thank you.
And just a clarification, so if it was a restaurant, it's not considered under the same category.
So that would be an on sale, not an off sale.
Thank you.
The ABC considers those separately.
And just to confirm, we are talking just a beer and wine license, not liquor.
That's correct.
Okay.
What was the size of it again?
70 square feet.
I have a quick question for the applicant.
Yes.
Do you guys have any plans or sort of procedures for the kind of the homeless population that does kind of hang out around the back end of that building? Like-
They, as a general policy in areas where that is an issue, they do try to stop loitering and prevent that from happening. Obviously, they're not police officers, so they don't want to try to get engaged in any confrontations, but they do alert local authorities. It's standard procedure. They also have the managers try to delicately ask people to move on, but it's kind of a complicated situation for store personnel.
Yep. Do you guys think the alcohol sales is going to do anything for that or with that?
In the experience of the company, that issue, it doesn't change. It's a net zero effect on, it doesn't attract more folks. They don't go into the store more frequently. Family Dollar they're not a liquor store. They don't put big placards on the windows advertising beer sales, et cetera. It's just an additional item they offer to their standard customers. They have done some research. They generally do not increase the number of customers they get. It just increases the volume of sales per customer. Folks that always go to Family Dollar, they'll say, oh, I can grab a 12-pack or a bottle of wine. They add that to their cart. It's not really a new foot traffic attractor.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Any more questions or discussions?
I do not have anything.
No.
Do I have a motion?
Do I have to find exempt from CEQA first?
Yes.
I find this exempt from CEQA, and I make a motion that we pass this continuous use permit to allow the Family Dollar to sell type 20 liquor license, alcohol license for beer and wine.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Krushat,
Aye.
Commissioner Pahana,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cure,
Aye.
Chair Walker,
Aye.
5-0 approved.
Moving on to discussion and potential action items. Do we have any? Moving on to community development director updates.
I have a couple. In case you haven't noticed, we've got a lot fewer people here at the staff table. Katrina Bennett has left us. She's gone on to greener pastures and pursuing her career, economic career. We're very proud of her. And Diane has cut her hours back to 3/4 time. So you're looking at the planning department right now. And something else that is bubbling, we don't have a hard policy or solution for it yet, but we have had recently quite a lot of inquiries into special events, particularly on a small entertainment venue request. So what we're in the midst of doing is coming together, putting together an inventory of existing event spaces that we can refer people to have their events. But we're also going to come up with some policy somewhere soon to have an expedited process for local venues when have entertainment, whether it's karaoke night or open mic night or a band or whatever. We're still in the process of hammering that out, but we recognize the importance of having local entertainment at local establishments. So we're trying to figure out a way to get that promoted.
Is that it?
That was it.
All right. No study sessions?
No, but you're gonna get one next time.
All right. I look forward to it.
August 20th, next meeting.
So then I'm going to adjourn this meeting of the Planning Commission.